Welcome to this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast, where we look forward to shaving every day. Welcome to episode 65 of the podcast. My name is Rick Luis. I'll be your host this week. This week we've got a letter and a couple of notes to talk about. I found an interesting article that I wanted to read to you, and hopefully you'll enjoy it as much as I did. This week, after the excitement and festivities of the holidays, which were a little bit weird for me, because here it is, Thanksgiving. I took Wednesday off, and I wrenched my back on Wednesday morning, and it was basically suffering through all the whole holiday week with just a messed up back. I mean, it was dreadful. I gotta tell you, it was dreadful. But we made it through the week, and that's a good thing. Had a good time. Stayed at home, so that was good. I enjoy staying at home with days off where I have time to luxuriate and just kind of hang out and do what I want to do. And so I kind of took that philosophy and into my shaving routine, into my morning routine. I didn't just get up and do what I normally do like I'm going to work. It was much more of a relaxed kind of, pick and choose what you want, use the products that you want, because it was just one of those weeks this week. And the thing that was interesting about it is that it caused some reflections and, in fact, some discoveries. And so we're going to talk about those today, just some of the few things that I was pondering on and looking at and thinking about and thinking, oh, crap, I do this. I wonder if anybody else does. So it was really a fun week. It was a fun week. I enjoyed it. Now, I enjoy the holidays. I enjoy the Thanksgiving time. It's just it's a time for me to be with my family, just here at the house. All of our other relatives are far away, and so we get to kick back, watch some football, have a good time, and just enjoy each other's company without the normal everyday stress. So it's all good. Anyhow, that's kind of what we're doing this episode 65. Hard to imagine that I'm saying those numbers together in that order because I never thought I'd get here, but there you go. Anyhow, let's get on with this show. I got a letter from Andy. He says, "Hi, Rick. I recently discovered your podcast and enjoy it very much. I thought I would add some background to your recent review of Mitchell's Wool Fat Soap. Bradford, Yorkshire, where the soap was and I believe still is made, was one of the main centers of the English wool trade and famous for its woolen mills. The process of washing the fleeces was known as scouring, and this removed the lanolin from the wool along with the less desirable substances. This, of course, went straight into the city's sewage system and was piped away to treatment works at a village called Esholt. As a biology undergraduate at the local university in the early 70s, I was taken on a tour of these sewage works. During the tour, we were shown their sulfuric acid plant, the acid being used to treat the raw sewage and remove the lanolin. I was told by the guide that at one point almost all of the lanolin used in makeup production, for lipstick, mascara, etc., in Britain used lanolin from this source. I suspect it's quite likely that Mr. Mitchell also used locally produced lanolin in his shaving soap, hence the wool fat in the name. The wool industry in Bradford has long since vanished, so the lanolin must be sourced elsewhere. But I would be intrigued to know if it is still produced in the same fashion. Interesting thought when you're next lathering up. Regards, Andy." Well, Andy, first off, thanks very much for the letter. The only contact that I've ever had with lanolin, other than soaps and things that had lanolin in it, was when I was growing up and my granddad and my dad raised sheep. And we didn't do anything to actually get the lanolin out. It was more of a just handling of the sheep, shearing, things like that, gathering wool, petting the silly things. Those were the things that exposed us to, well, lanolin. And it was always, a nice thing because, you'd get done, you'd go mess with the sheep, and then you'd rub your hands, and they'd smell good, and, well, like lanolin anyhow, and some of us thought that smelled good, and they'd be soft, and you wouldn't have any issues, and, if it was hot and dry, you could put it on your face and kind of help your face, to a certain extent, moisturize just a little bit with it. I mean, it was just one of those things. I never really thought of how they got the lanolin out of the wool. And for me, even I remember, I think it was my grandparents got me a sheepskin rug for Christmas one year. And the thing that I remember specifically about it is that it smelled like lanolin, like sheep. And it was just, that was one of the things that I really enjoyed about it. And I think the ones that they have today still have that kind of odor to them that makes it nice. So, in not all cases are they scouring, I guess, the lanolin out. But I can definitely understand how they would do that. And it's interesting that, one man's waste is another man's useful product. It's there's a lot of instances like that, and isn't it just amazing when it happens? And so I can well imagine that, yes, the lanolin was used because, well, you had to do something with it, and if you could make soaps out of it, there you go. That was a good way to utilize everything that you had. And I could also imagine that it was probably had at a very reasonable cost, which always helps the bottom line when you're in a business. Anyhow, Andy, thank you very much for the letter. I also got a quick note from Marco. He said, I couldn't find the podcast on your site. Could you please provide a link? One of the things that I have been doing here is because I have changed my my podcast host, I have the ability to put a player on my blog site for the podcasts. And so if you just go down, you've got the title of the podcast, and just down below that, you've got a little blurb about how to get in touch with me if you want to, phone number, email address, how to, contact me on Twitter, things like that. Well, right below that, there should be, in all cases, a player, something that you just click on the go button, and it's actually a little arrow button, and it will play the podcast right there in the blog, which is kind of nice. You don't have to go anywhere else if you happen to go that route. Now, in the old days, you would click on the link and it would take you over to Podcast Gardens, and for the older episodes, I believe you can still do that. But for the newer ones, the player is right there in the blog post. Now, when I first signed up, I didn't realize that I could do that, and I didn't realize that was another one of the options that I had available. When I did discover it, I thought, well, that would potentially be handy, because that way you don't have to click all over the place and make sure somebody else's server is up and things like that. It's just you just hit play and, well, it plays. So that's what I've been doing. So if you've noticed a change, or if you're having difficulties, that's what's going on. Now, I did send Marco a link directly to the Libsyn server for the particular podcast that he was looking for. And if you have any issues, give me a call, drop me an email, and I will try to steer you in the right direction if I can. I can't guarantee it because, well, I'm just sometimes I'm technically challenged. If you think about it this way, I have enough trouble just figuring out how to shave in the morning sometimes without cutting myself and to give myself a decent shave, etc., etc. So, shaving is not something that is technically, challenging to some. But if I'm having trouble with that, when it gets around computers, I mean, I can do things and all, but sometimes some of the newer stuff, well, And my kids aren't up at that hour, so I can't go ask them. And they have no interest in helping me. I mean, I'm dad. I'm just, I don't know things because I'm just not smart, They're convinced of it. Anyhow, like I said, if you have any issues or problems, drop me an email, and I'll do what I can to help you out. And Marco, hope everything worked out well for you, and thanks for the comment. I also got a quick note from Joe. He had sent me some stuff over to kind of sample, and he said, "Yeah, I was cleaning out my garage and came across a note that I was supposed to put in with all that stuff." Oops. Anyhow, he put it on the in the memo what he was wanting to say to me. He said, anyhow, he said, "I look forward to the next podcast, and thanks again for the MDC sample. I've used it at least 6 times now and really enjoy it. If you ever run into an extra tub that you want to get rid of, I'd be more than happy to take it off your hands." Take care, Joe. Well, Joe, I don't have any laying around at this moment. If I ever find one sprouting out of a corner somewhere, I'll keep you in mind. Thanks for the note. I ran into an article from Fast Company, and this is an article written by Bill Barrell, and it was so good I just had to read it. Lathered Up: What Internet-Fueled Shaving Startups Are Really Selling. The recent successes of Bevel, of goal-crushing Kickstarter projects like the Rockwell and Beluga razors, and of retailers like Harry's and Dollar Shave Club, each of which has annual revenues in the tens of millions of dollars, suggest a new golden age of shaving. But they also raise a couple of questions. Why shaving? And why now? The simple answer is that men have finally wised up to the epic nuttiness of the pricing structure for multi-blade cartridge razors, which have ruled the industry since Gillette introduced the Track 2 in 1971. The market leaders, Gillette and Schick, own 85% between them, manufacture cartridges for pennies, and sell them at awe-inspiring markups to a captive audience. $25 for a 4-pack of Gillette Fusion Pro Glides in my local market? There's a reason for that old axiom about giving them the handles and selling them the blades. Chutzpah this grand was sure to spawn a reaction, even if it took a few decades. The first wave came with online retailers like Harry's, DSC, and 800 Razors. They've done well enough to carve out individual hunks of mind share. DSC, with its slick, wacky product videos, is fun Gillette, while Harry's is faux classy Gillette. And the alt-blade market as a whole has matured to the point where a spokesperson can pitch 800 razors with the recursive tag Normcore Harry's. That's putting it kindly. The site with its autoplay product vids and, hey, let's put on a website design looks like something the clever guys at DSC might have come up with on a dare. You can't say it isn't working, though. Michael Dubin, CEO of Dollar Shave Club, recently told the New York Times that he's on track to do $60 million in revenue this year. The problem is the first-wave retailers represent a pretty minor adjustment to the majors' pricing. Market leaders Harry and DSC lock buyers into a subscription, which is just exchanging one kind of handcuff for another. While their pricing is more rational, it's only more rational compared to the go-screw-yourself model of Gillette and Schick. Should an 8-pack of quality blades really cost $32? Harry ads ask. The answer is no, of course not, because that doesn't make any sense. But Harry's solution, an 8-pack of quality blades, should cost $15. And that doesn't make sense either. Hey, come here. Let me tell you a secret. Are you ready? An 8-pack of quality blades should cost about $1, 14 cents each. That's what I pay for my blade of choice, the Persona Lab Blue at Amazon. Hi, my name is Bill, and I'm a wet shaver. Wet shaving is the newish name for what our ancestors called shaving. It's a conscious return to the pre-Track 2 era of single blades nestled in heavy, steely safety razors, and it's having something of a moment right now. This is particularly true on Kickstarter, where the Rockwell Razor campaign recently demolished its initial goal in less than 24 hours and ended up 1,000% funded. The Rockwell 65, it's named after the test that measures the tensile strength of materials, already has competitors drafting in its wake, like the Thomas Clipper and Beluga razors, both of which recently closed out successful funding campaigns. These guys are the counter-revolution, the reaction against the reaction, and in that sense their success is a salutary thing. There is some real, if modest, shaving innovation here. The Rockwell 65, which has 3 swappable base plates that yield 6 different blade exposures, is a clever take on the decades-old adjustable razor. Mostly, though, they're lifestyle brands, using the now familiar tools of product video and social media to sell the idea of shaving as a relaxed, manly pleasure to guys who've only known the rushed get-out-the-door frenzy of the cartridge shave. Sometimes that positioning is merely innocuous. Thomas Clipper appropriates the hushed, stately tone of Apple ads. Designed in London, made in metal, built to last. Sometimes it's just nuts. The pivoting head Beluga razor is a bizarrely over-engineered thing. Its 28-year-old CEO, Zach Wertz, really wants you to know about Beluga's high-end linen micarta handle that literally has sheets of linen in it that puff up when it gets wet. I read this and I think, in other words, a plastic handle on a razor that will eventually retail for $150, more than double the price of my all-stainless steel Weber razor with the Bulldog handle, a beautifully knurled thing that weighs about as much as a hammer. But I'm clearly not the target for carnival barkers like Wertz, because I'm already in the tent. What crowd-funded shaving startups tend to have in common is an almost evangelical fervency. Let us lead you out of the wilderness of Gillette and Schick. There is this thing called wet shaving, and whatever may have come before. No. Look over here. We will show it to you, and you will cover our substantial R&D and manufacturing expenses, because let's face it, this high-end linen micarta isn't going to puff itself up. That's the kind of pitch that's powerfully alluring to people who want to help midwife in the next new thing into the world. Even if, in this case, the next new thing goes back a century to when a traveling salesman named King Camp Gillette introduced the disposable razor. That's okay. Maybe every generation of shavers has to think it discovered single-blade shaving. Guys will get there however they get there, and whether their implement of choice is a new Rockwell, a 1950s Gillette Super Speed, or that cheap knockoff, the guy from Pawn Stars Hawks on basic cable, the rewards are the same. At the most basic level, wet shaving is fun. It tickles the tinkerer lobe in the brain. There is a universe of tools available, from razors to brushes to blades to soaps to creams to pre- and post-shave emollients, redolent of grass and orange oil and black pepper, and every guy gets to hack together his own take on what works. Did yesterday's shave leave your face a little raw? Change your blade. Try a dollop of glycerin on your brush. Mix the Mitchell's Wool Fat soap with the Parasso cream and see what happens. There's your innovation. And there are deeper, more profound pleasures to it. Wet shaving connects us not just to the past, but to our own pasts. It's what our fathers did and their fathers. It reminds you of the value of ritual. It's a learned skill, one that demands practice and rewards with expertise. And it enforces focus, requiring that you slow down and concentrate on the job that's immediately at hand, because to do otherwise invites bloodshed. Wet shaving is a relaxing, meditative ritual that clears the mind and sends one out into the world a better, not just a better groomed person. Now, how much would you pay? I will link to that article in case you'd like to read it, but that's some good writing. I really enjoyed reading that, and like I said, it was good. I enjoyed that. There's a lot of good points because, there have been a lot of startups. Like I said a couple of podcasts ago, there have been a lot of, we're at the beginning of a wave. People are starting to wake up, and the thing is that people are starting to look around and say, hey, maybe we can take advantage of this. Nowadays, for example, if you go on eBay and look at razors, it kind of comes and goes in waves, but every now and then, things just get crazy to the point where there's no way you can afford to buy a razor on eBay. And, it's interesting. It really is. And, of course, the costs of things are continually evolving. And, it's one of those things that will, don't get me wrong. I am not blaming the folks that are pricing these things because they're doing what any business should do. They are charging what the market will bear. The thing is that there's a lot of people coming into this hobby that are used to paying big bucks for just a pack of razors. And so they're willing, in a lot of cases, to pay substantially bigger bucks than I am typically willing to pay for their supplies. Now, is the stuff that they get good? Yeah, absolutely. I don't think anybody's out to rip anybody off or anything like that, but it'll be interesting at some point in my life when I go to Walmart and see a puck of Williams soap going for $5. That'll tell me right then that, okay, this has gone off the deep end. Anyhow, I enjoyed that article. Again, I'll link to it. Fast Company. So, like I said, I'll give a link to it and go check it out. So, this week, from a shaving standpoint, I've been using my Gillette Slim Adjustable. In fact, it's my birthday razor. Why have I been using it? Well, just because. For the past couple of weeks, I've been using single-edged and straight razors, and, I wanted to, mix it up. I wanted to have some variety in things. And what I've noticed is that mixing it up is not bad. Having the variety, having to be able to change things and react to those changes is a good thing. Keeps my mind sharp. And believe me, I need that. It's one of those things, for me, it's mixing it up is what keeps it new. It keeps it different. It keeps it an adventure. And it's what I want shaving to be. What I've come to realize is having a little bit of everything is not necessarily a bad thing. When I mix it up, when I change things, change razors, for example, I have to change my technique. And in changing my technique, what I realize is that as I switch back and forth, I have circumvented the ho-hum of shaving. I have gotten around the fact that, it's just shaving. Because it's not, at least not for me. It's a hobby. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be adventurous. It's, I want to keep it fresh and alive. And, I don't want to go back to the old ho-hum. So I mix it up. I mix it up with soaps. I mix it up with brushes. I mix it up with blades, razors. That's a good thing. It really is. I'm convinced at this point it's a good thing. First off, you learn. And you learn things that you wouldn't normally learn. You learn, for example, that, hey, this blade that I never even knew existed last week does a pretty darn good job. It's a possible second or third choice. I could have a few of these and not feel bad about it. Or mixing it up with soaps and realizing, hey, this soap that, with a touch of this and a touch of that, and maybe this brush and using that technique works fabulously. Or you may also have the experience of, okay, this soap, no matter what I do to it, it's garbage. And it should go there. And that's okay too. That's how you learn. That's how you go from being just someone who uses things, uses the tools of the trade, as it were, to become a true craftsman with the art. And granted, there are some out there that, in fact, when you watch them or watch their videos, they are craftsmen with a blade. They are craftsmen with razors. And I look at that and I think to myself, man, it would be nice if I could do that. I haven't quite figured out how to get there yet, but it sure would be nice if I could do that. So that's one of the things I've enjoyed mixing it up this week. First off, having to constantly stick with one thing and just, use this because I'm doing a review or something like that. I mean, I don't mind doing it, don't get me wrong, but after a while, it's just like, ugh. I've got all this stuff. I just want to have fun. I just want to enjoy it. And so that's what I do. And so it becomes fun every now and then to mix it up. To mix up vintage and modern, because there are differences between the two of them. To mix up a double edge with a single edge. Use a double edge for a week. Get used to the technique. Get used to the way it feels, the weight of the razor. And then all of a sudden go to a single edge, which has a different technique for holding the razor and the way that it goes against your face, and use that for a while. Or switch up from a Fat Boy, which is relatively heavy, to a Mercure Bakelite, for example, which is again a double-edged razor, but there's no weight at all to the thing. And what ends up happening is you realize that, okay, maybe I wasn't doing just quite right with the Fat Boy. Maybe I shouldn't put as much pressure on it. Maybe I should, in fact, just use the weight of the razor, because with the Mercure, it does a fabulous job with virtually no weight at all. Or throw a slant in there every now and then if you have one, because that's a unique experience as well. And it's just, it's what makes the hobby fun. It's what makes it enjoyable, because after all, if it really is just shaving, which a lot of people, I find great humor in this, how can people be so, fired up about this? It's just shaving. No, it's not. If it was just shaving, I would get a Fat Boy, a feather blade, some Katie's Bubble soap, my Police-On brush, and be done with it, and I would never pick up anything else ever again. Yeah, I said it. That's what I would do. And I would never pick up anything else again, because after all, it's just shaving. I wouldn't experiment with new razors. I wouldn't experiment with new blades, with new brushes, with new soaps. I wouldn't do any of it. I wouldn't seek out new and different scents. Why? It's just shaving. Okay, so let's put that one to bed. It's not just shaving. This is fun. This is a hobby. This is something that you get enjoyment from, and part of that enjoyment is the adventure, is the mixing it up to see what you've created, something that possibly no one else has done before. Oh my gosh, I found out that in a vintage Gillette, a Lord razor just is miserable, but when I put it in this, I don't know, a microlight from the Pawn Stars guy, I don't know, it works wonderfully. No, I haven't tried it, and I don't intend to. I don't like Lord blades. I'm sorry. Anyhow, you may come upon a discovery like that and go, ha-ha, I know something no one else does. It could happen. It really could. And that's what's fun. If it was just shaving, I'm sorry, but for me, it would just be, it's just, I was doing just shaving before. I was shaving in the shower. I was using, bar soap. It was, it's just, get it done, get it over with. No big deal, no enjoyment. Just, it was a routine, something to do. And I don't want to do that anymore. And that's why I do what I do. That's why I mix it up. That's why I search for new and different soaps and try different blades and try new techniques. And I'm constantly learning and pushing and just, attempting. It may not work right. I may cut myself. It's okay. I'll heal. I've cut myself before. It's not a big deal. I don't want it to be, at the end of the day when I get done, when somebody asks me, how was your shave? I don't want to look at them and go, I don't want that. I really don't. Because if I do that, then yeah, it's just shaving. And I don't want it to be just shaving. How about you? Do you want it to be just shaving? Do you want, when somebody says, how are you? Why? It's just shaving. Do you sit there and go, no, it's not. It's way more than that. It's a way of life. It's a way of meeting the day. It's a philosophy. It's a way of going out in public, or not even going out in public. It's a way of living. It's a philosophy. It's like that. Do you attempt to do better? Do you attempt to have fun? Do you attempt to see the joy in the little things in life that you do, like shaving? Or is it just shaving? Interesting. So the next time that somebody puts up on the internet or something, on Facebook or something, guys, it's just shaving, I may have to answer back, no, it's not. It's way more than that. Now, is it as important as some of the things that I do in my life? No, I will grant you that. But it's not just shaving. Where do you fall on this subject? Give me a shout. Drop me a line. Let me know. Is it just shaving to you? Or is it something a little bit more? Don't forget, you still have the opportunity to pre-order the 2015 Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast Brush, made by none other than Nathan Clark. Part of the proceeds go to support the podcast. It's made with a black resin and Osage orange wood handle. It is very unique and very, very pretty. You get your choice of 24 millimeter knots set to a 50 millimeter loft. You can either get a high mountain white or a badger, or you can get the uber soft 4th generation synthetic fiber knot. Taking orders, I will put the link up in the show notes. You can order up until January 31st. They'll be shipped out at February 25th, close to the end of February. And if you use the voucher BSB 2015 or Brush and Soap and Blade 2015 at checkout, you can get this brush for $69.95, which is a heck of a deal. It is a gorgeous brush. It's really a nice one. So think about it, and if you decide to go that route, well, we do appreciate the support. I believe I've made a discovery, or at least an observation that I'm a little bit more cognizant of. Typically when I shave in the morning, I do 2 passes with a touch-up. And essentially what that gives me is, well, a socially acceptable shave. It's not super close, super smooth, but it is socially acceptable. I mean, it's a pretty good shave. I get a better shave if I take my time and do 3 passes with a touch-up. That gets me closer to BBS. And for those of you that are new to the wet shaving thing here, BBS stands for Baby Butt Smooth, which is, to some people, the ultimate goal of a shave. To me, I'm okay with socially acceptable every now and then, especially if I'm in a hurry. For me, the much smoother shaves is when I have the time to relax, enjoy, take my time, not get all worked up about it. I'm not in a hurry. Don't have somebody else trying to get in the bathroom or something like that. It's just, I can just kind of concentrate on what I'm doing and enjoy it. Now, the other thing that I've noticed that really, really helps. And I had been kind of doing this off and on, but not really realizing the impact that it had. Okay, so my usual routine is that I will soak my brush if it needs to be soaked and jump in the shower. I don't usually bloom my soaps. I'm a bowl latherer. I don't face lather that often unless I'm using a stick or something like that. So for me, blooming, it can bloom in the dang bowl. And I'm sorry if I have to go to all that work to experience the full scent of a soap. Well, no, I'm not going to go there. Yeah, somebody can get mad at me. Somebody could yell at me. I'm sorry. I find that the scents that I get, the smells that I get from my soaps are just absolutely fantastic because I'm lathering in a bowl and I don't need to do any more. I get good loading of my brushes, which does lead me to another interesting point. And I don't know if it's me or what. Now, I do know that I am blessed, absolutely blessed with really, really soft water. But one of the things that I have witnessed and, in fact, read, or at least surmised from reading something, is that people are not necessarily, well, they don't put as much pressure on their brushes when they load compared to what I do. I put a little bit of pressure on my brush. I mean, I'm brushing the soap pretty vigorously to ensure I get good loading of soap on the brush. And it's just, I have noticed people in the past who have not necessarily, it's almost like they're scared of hurting the brush. No. It's a brush. Use it. Use it as a brush. Abuse it. If you soak it if it's a synthetic, you're probably not going to hurt it. If it's a badger or boar, it's and if you soak it properly for about 3 to 5 minutes before you use it, and it's good quality fibers, you're probably not going to do any damage to it at all. Use it. Use it as a brush. Brush the snot out of it. And, if it's that's what I've been doing with my boar brushes, my $20 Samog boar brushes, and I've been doing that for, ever since. I mean, I've had one almost a year, and it's probably pretty close to being my daily driver, and I don't have any issues with it. I mean, I haven't lost any more. I think I lost a few fibers the first couple of times I used it, and, after that, yeah, all the bristles are still there. They haven't broken off. I mean, it's in good shape. So don't be scared to put a little pressure on your brush to load it up. Anyhow, back to my original thought. What I have noticed, or at least started to pay attention to, is that after I get out of the shower, I don't necessarily dry my face, and then I will add just a little bit more water to my face before I lather up, and then I'll lather up and kind of let it sit there for a little bit while I'm piddling around doing other things, loading a razor, doing something else, whatever. The lather, before I start shaving, the lather probably sits there for, I don't know, a minute, 40 seconds, somewhere in there. Just kind of take some time and, just rehydrate just a little bit. Now, if I'm doing the socially acceptable shave, typically what I'll do is I'll, shave, with the grain, and then I'll probably do an against the grain pass, and then I'll do some touch up, and that's good enough. But I don't rinse or wet my face between passes. I'll just reapply lather and go. It's kind of like the way, and I just do this naturally. It's not like it's intentional or anything. It just comes naturally to me, and I've been doing it for a while, and so it's almost to the point of being habit. And so with that, I get a socially acceptable shave. Now, when I take my time, on weekends or something like that, I will, after each pass, I will stop, rinse my razor off, rinse my face, not completely clean, but at least, throw some more water on it, lather up again, dry my hands, and then proceed with the next pass. So I noticed that, and I thought to myself, okay, time out. Let me just check something here. What I noticed and what I verified is that if I rinse between passes, I get an inherently better shave even if I'm doing 2 passes with some touch-up. It's better than just socially acceptable. It is, in fact, a better shave. And if it's, while I'm taking my time, it's about the same as it's always been, because when I was taking my time, I was always rinsing my face. It's just one of the things I did. So, if your shaves are a little bit less close than you would like, and you would like it just a little bit more close, try that. It might work for you too. Now, it may be that I'm just strange, or that I'm lucky. I don't know. But give it a try, because if you're not, rinsing, wetting your face between passes, you may not be getting the full effect of the lather and of the soap. So it's something to keep in mind. I have, like I said, I have become more aware that I was doing this, and so I decided to, test the theory, and that's what I found out. So who knows? Maybe you can use this, and maybe it'll help you along your path as well. Okay, so I don't know about you, but it attempted for, I don't know, a couple of days anyhow, maybe a week. It attempted to be winter down here. And so it got me to thinking, and it got me to realize that, yes, in fact, the weather is changing, and it's becoming just a tad drier than it typically is. Not quite as humid, not as much moisture in the air. Things are just drying out. Heaters are on and things like that, which have a natural tendency to dry you out anyhow. And one of the things that I've noticed is that I'm, from time to time, in dry weather, I get skin issues. I get, little bumps and irritation spots and things like that, that I don't normally have. And the only thing that I can, attribute it to is the fact that, the weather's drier. I'm using blades, for example, that have never caused me any irritation at all, ever. I'm using a razor that has never caused any irritation at all, ever. Same with the soaps, same with the aftershaves. So the only thing that has changed is the weather. So I'm sitting there, and I've noticed this, and I got to thinking, it very well could be weather related, as well as potentially age related. But it comes and goes. It's not something that stays all the time. So it's something to watch out for in the wintertime. As you walk around outside, your skin is being abused by the wind, by the cold, etc. And so, you may want to lean toward more balms, more moisturizers, things of that nature. Make sure that your prep is good, so that you don't overly stress skin that's already, just a little bit, damaged, if you will. So it's just something to keep in mind. Again, it was one of those things that, I noticed. It was like, that's odd. Wonder what's causing all this. And when you get to thinking about it, that seemed to be the only thing that it could be. Now, another interesting thing, I need somebody to tell me if this is normal or if I have absolutely gone off the deep end. Now, I have been doing this wet shaving thing for, a little bit. Not too awful long. I'm not one of the old timers that's been doing it from the get-go, but I've been doing it for a while. What I have found myself doing, and I hate to admit this, it's a tad voyeuristic. What I have noticed, I do, and I don't do it intentionally. I really don't. I try not to, but I do. When I meet people, I have a tendency to inspect how their shave is. Is it a good shave? Is it a close shave? Is it potentially a fellow wet shaver? Does it look like they use a straight razor? It's just, have they missed a spot? Are they scraggly? Or, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I do this sometimes. Every now and then someone will turn their head, you'll see in profile, you'll see stubble and everything. And it's like, they didn't shave this morning. And what I have found myself, and I've tried to stop it, I truly have, but what I have noticed is that when I meet people like that, I have a tendency in my head to almost instinctively hold them in a little bit less regard. Because to me, in my head anyhow, and I try not to think this way, but it just kind of happens, in my head I think to myself, if they haven't spent the time to make their appearance pleasant, nice, as best they can be for me, what else are they going to be, not really up to par on? Are they going to not put forth their best effort on something else, on the conversation that we may have, on a work project that we may be doing, on, just are they going to be attentive to the meeting if they're not attentive to themselves? It's those little things. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand, certain situations, camping trips, vacation, things like I get that. I'm talking about social settings, Christmas parties, business meetings, business dinners, business lunches, social engagements where you're going to go meet people for the first time, And I think to myself, I feel sorry for, oh goodness, I feel so sorry for any young man who is going on a date with a young girl for the first time and meeting the father and having the father basically inspect him like that and going, yeah, I don't think so. I don't have daughters, so that's not me. But if I did, I could see myself doing that. Oh, God, they'd tell stories about me. Anyhow, it's one of those things that I have, again, noticed myself doing. This has been kind of one of those self-awareness weeks, where you kind of look around and go, why do you do that? What's up with that? What are you doing here? Why, it's been one of those. And so after all this time, again, it's not just wet shaving. It's a philosophy. It's how do you present yourself to the world? And if you're not willing to present yourself to the world in a way that is, I don't know, on your best foot forward, then what else are you not willing to put your best foot forward on? It's just one of those things. It's a curiosity that I find myself thinking that way and noticing those things. Like I said, it's a tad voyeuristic. Now, don't get me wrong. If you've got a beard or something like that, mustache, I'm okay with that. As long as it's neat, as long as it looks like you put a little bit of time and effort into it. If you look like you haven't shaved in a month and everything's all scraggly and, you look like you just climbed out of a dumpster, I'm sorry. That's not going to get it. On the other hand, if it's a very neatly trimmed beard and, the edges are nice and, I'm cool with that. That shows that, yeah, you put a little bit of effort and thought into it. I'm okay with that. So, it's one of those things. I don't know. Maybe I'm becoming prissy about this stuff. And it's not, I don't find myself avoiding people, It's just, there's just like a checkbox or something in my head. And, if they meet certain things, it's like they get the check, and if they don't, well, they don't. And it doesn't necessarily impact what I do or how I act or behave, I think, on the outside. I think. But at the same time, I found myself thinking about it, which then makes me wonder, am I doing it and not even realize it? Anyhow, so give me a call. Let me know. Am I normal? Is this something somebody else does, or am I so off the dang deep end bat crazy, that I need to go seek professional help? And the good news is either I'm all out here alone, in which case the world does not have to worry because, I'm not going to hurt anybody. Or there's a bunch of us like this, and if there's a bunch of us like this, well, don't worry because you're not alone, because I'll admit it, I've done it. So the question is, are you doing it too? Have you thought about it? Do you realize it? Maybe you're doing it and don't know. Maybe this will spark a thought. Just saying. It has been an interesting week of, discovery. Well, that concludes this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you have some suggestions or would like a topic covered, drop me an email at BrushnSoapnBlade@gmail.com or give me a call at 864-372-6234 or contact us on Twitter at BrushnBlade. You can also visit us at our blog, BrushnSoapnBlade.wordpress.com. As always, we're available on iTunes and Stitcher.